everyone. We are here on Mechanicsville at 1720 Mechanicsville Turnpike at Wesley Memorial United Methodist Church. Pastor Reverend Hunter has allowed us to come down here to share the story of Shaka Shakur, political prisoners, and also to try to promote the new Afrikan Freedom Campaign, African Freedom Campaign, where we're trying to organize black people or African people into a formation, a campaign for political prisoners, and also raising awareness for Shaka Shakur case.
Shaka Shakur is a political prisoner. He has served his time, over 23 years. He's currently incarcerated in Buckingham County, Virginia. And during this event, we're going to show a video. Some of you all probably came to our event last year. We showed a video of Shaka's documentary that he has. And I urge if you go to shakashakur.org, it is on that website to check it out. But I'm going to play a clipping from Shaka himself. And he's going to give us a 2-minute, 3-minute dialogue of what the new Afrikan Freedom Campaign is.
I'm Shaka Shakur on behalf of the new Afrikan Freedom Campaign. Making a statement for the upcoming event this weekend on July 19th. And I just want to push out some things and try to get some clarification on what it is we're trying to accomplish. So the title of this piece is, why is the new Afrikan Freedom Campaign necessary? Why is this event and the launch of this organization so important? It is both so important and necessary because we are our own liberators and must take responsibility to not only be on basis and support structures within our communities, but we must support members from that community who have been harvested by the prison industrial complex and has taken their stance against oppression, against the inhumanities being visited upon us by those who choose to abuse power while reinforcing structural forms of institutionalized oppression. We choose to focus on our own far as African prisoners because both statistically and factually, and in comparison with our population, we are often the most targeted. We get the most time, represent the majority of those often housed in solitary or so-called long-term or administrative segregation. We represent the majority of those sent out of state and into exile via the interstate compact. We are the most targeted for human trafficking by corrections as they ship us around the country. This is no slight to any other community. We know that we have allies, supporters, and even sympathizers, as well as comrades from other communities that doesn't look like us. And we welcome that solidarity. But we believe that when our community is represented and the organizers of that community and the building basis within that community, leadership must come from us. That is, New African Black people. There are many New African political prisoners, prison activists, and jailhouse lawyers that have been fighting to put in quality work for decades, who have been targeted and repressed by the state, who have been repeatedly denied parole or sentenced to exile out of state, or who have been human trafficked. This particular class of prisoners doesn't often have an outside support base, community support, a network within the community, etc. This is an attempt to change that. We can't complain that our movement is too dominated by other people if you are not willing to step up, take responsibility, and put the work in. We need you. We are asking you to come out and let's put our minds, energy, and resources together. We need VA to represent. Reveal, free the land. You can find further information on shakashakur.org.
My name is Nairobi, and I'm the founder of Hear Her Voice. Right now, Hear Her Voice is just a virtual resource center. So we support people that's dealing with different issues. We support people with reentry that's coming home from prison. We support people that have addiction problems, that's trauma, that's suffering from trauma. We are an informed trauma community. We also have a youth mentorship program as well. And so right now I just released my first magazine. That's the magazine that's back there. It is Hear Her Voice 1-year anniversary. The story of Shaka and his son is in that magazine as well. So soon we're going to be opening up a reentry home for women. It'll house 20 different women, and within that community, we'll also have the virtual resources that we have now. We'll have the physical resources, and within that community, we'll also build into a mentorship program for the women the children of the women that's there.
Miss Jackie,
Socialism and Liberation. We're a national political organization, the Socialist Congress. We're anti-imperialist, which is a really big aspect here. After learning about Shaka's case, see that he's also anti-imperialist. PSL and the organizers within the PSL all come from different walks of life, lots of different backgrounds. And we kind of attack the imperialist kind of program that tries to oppress all of us, put all of us down. We want to end that, which is really a capitalist infrastructure. One of the biggest aspects of that infrastructure is the prison industrial complex. Really, it kind of starts and ends there in the state security forces. Really is the boot of oppression on our people, where maybe the judicial system, the court system is more like the brain of it. So we heard about this, we wanted to come out here, support, learn, make connections with other people who are involved in the struggle. Beyond that, we really do, we're nationwide, and we have connections to other international organizations. We have a table back here, we brought some books, Pan-Africanism, Black Belt Thesis, and if y'all have heard of the new Jim Crow, we had one of our members wrote a book called Shaka, and it talks about incarceration from against that neoliberal aspect, which is something else that I was thinking about Shaka as well. So we brought some stuff. Also, we're getting ready to observe Black August, which, if you're familiar with George Jackson, we really observe that very well.
Party is what we call an incrudist party. That is, we follow the teachings and example of Kwame Nkrumah, who was the president of what some people call the first African country to get its independence after colonialism. And what Nkrumah said was that Black people, no matter where we are African. And the struggle for African unity and African liberation is part and parcel of our all struggle. That wherever we are, that should be our primary struggle to unify, liberate Africa under what we call scientific socialism. The only thing scientific about socialism is that we understand that in order to be able to get socialism, we have to engage in what we call class struggle. That we have to struggle for the people who produce wealth to control that wealth. That's all socialism means. That people produce wealth, control that wealth, and now we have a world in which you have a guy who's almost $500 billion. One guy who grew up in South Africa and who promotes the values of that old apartheid regime. One guy. And you have a handful of people, trillions of billions and billions of dollars, more concentrated wealth than ever. And with this concentration, this is why we get, whenever you get this concentration, you get monopoly. Whenever you get monopoly, you get this kind of people like the fascist kind of guy who got in the White House now. And so there's certain ways that we can understand how the struggle, how the world operates, and then develop a strategy to deal with that based on that. So this is what we do, and we do several things. And one of the things we do is we have a podcast, a monthly podcast. We just put out a journal that's coming out online, and we'll be doing more things here in Richmond. Maurice is one of our members. He's a member of the church here, and works with the youth here. So that's also what we're doing. So we're back there in the back. So we want to be involved more and more in this town and the surrounding areas. And so come by table talk.
Red George, that's how I actually got to be Shaka. I want to say almost 2 or 3 years ago. I do have some handouts about co-op buying. I think that's something that's very important to our community, and I think that y'all be very interested in it. It's a way to keep ourselves in a cheaper way. We just got to come together as a community and as a people and take care of ourselves. So I want to make sure all of y'all get a print of that.
The Interstate Compact is a contract that is entered into between between states to receive, swap, and send prisoners between the states. The origin of this practice and contract has its roots within the Fugitive Slave Act and the practice of selling rowdy, rebellious, or subversive slaves off the plantation, including no right to appeal. This is Shaka speaking in parentheses. He says, I was only allowed to file an appeal of my placement after I had been in Virginia for 3 years. Due process or constitutional protection. He continues to say, I am a state prisoner out of the state of Indiana. In December of 2018, I was sold off the plantation by being forced out of state per the Interstate Corrections Compact and shipped off to the Commonwealth of Virginia. So that's the Interstate Compact in a nutshell. It is it still is a continuation of the Fugitive Slave Act. Cameron C. Johnson is suffering from that right now in South Carolina. They kidnapped him from Virginia. They damaged his leg. They beat him up because he brought awareness to what was happening in Red Onion Prison, or DOC, correctional facility. The inmates was literally setting themselves on fire due to the treatment that was happening in that prison up in Red Onion. So this is what the Interstate Compact is. From Shakur, right? It's called a call to arms, right? So this is a call to arms to politically progressive and revolutionary oriented community that would like to build a more active movement whose vision is not only prison abolition, but a radical transformation of society as a whole. This includes not only focusing on the prison industrial complex, but also some of the other pressing issues within our communities, such as reactionary violence and killing, especially amongst the youth. We would like to address and focus on some of the more systemic issues in our communities that lead to and feed the prison industrial complex by simultaneously helping to build up infrastructure and institutions within the community, back on the ground grassroots community organizing. This also includes recognition of political prisoners and prison activists in Virginia and developing mutual aid and support for that neglected segment of our human family. We believe in the concept of dual power, which means that while we may use available resources from the state, we believe in trying to create our own, becoming less dependent on the state and its grants and offer of nonprofit status. We believe in the power and the ability of the people to pool their resources or our resources and create structures and institutions that genuinely serve the interests of the people with no hidden agendas or strings attached. We are calling for a meeting of the minds. We do not want to build a movement that is wholly dependent on the compassion of politicians or corporate America. We do not want to depend on people or organizations that have a savior complex. If you want to see a move towards something different, we are inviting you out for a conversation, and within that conversation, we are trying to create a more militant and proactive organization that functions on multiple levels of struggle and resistance. We are not solely focused on electoral politics, although we understand the strategy. We are focused on trying to organize within the community and using the community and its resources to mobilize that community, to take responsibility for addressing and solving our own problems and issues. During this meeting, we would like to establish an agenda of the top 5 pressing issues that should be focused on in development of a strategy for resolving such. And this one leads to the next part of this. We want to do a discussion or have a discussion among us who are in the room.
When I think of political prisoner, I think the United States is an empire, and it's constantly trying to repress people through all sorts of I don't know the other way to say it other than dastardly institutions that take advantage of the needs of the people. And when people try to meet those needs, a and end up locked up in jail or inside the prison system. Crime comes from poverty, and poverty is something that should not exist in the United States. A country full of resources, but those resources are kept from us. So because of that, I think most people that find themselves in jail are on some level a prisoner because of politics, political prisoner. I think that's different than a prisoner activist, like somebody like George Jackson, who found himself in jail, and while in jail began to organize and educate people in jail after learning about how he ended up there in the first place, which is through capitalist suppression.
Creating our own resources, especially when it comes to our food, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot going on with the food right now. And if we don't have the resources to be able to plant the things that we need to plant.
Being able to feed ourselves is very important. And until we can have the real estate to be able to plant our own things, we need to find those black farmers, and also buying is a way for us to put our money together and be able to get something back that's more than we would get at a grocery store, which will help us to be able to save money. And I also believe in policing ourselves. It's something that we used to do very, very well, and many of us know the story of what happened that kind of got that off the course, but I think that the strongest leaders in our community needs to try to push that back into our communities, being able to police ourselves, and it keeps others out of our business. It keeps us to get to a point where we trust each other to the point to where we're not running to the police, because calling the police into our communities could be a death sentence, where you can just call Miss Shirley down the street or go get Mr. Hakeem and he'll come and he knows, oh, I know that boy, or I know that man, regulate the situation.
Came together and morphed into a new nation of people. That's all we basically say when we say we're new African. We're declaring we're a new African nation and things of nature. And even just a new human being, developing yourself into this new man, this new woman that wants to see all oppression on all humans eradicated. If you ever read Franz Fanon's book, Wretched of Earth, that book is the concrete basis of what we're talking about when we're talking about the new African. In that book, he explains the process of decolonization, destroying your old self, destroying the European thinking, the colonial thinking, and just becoming yourself again. So when we talk about New African, that's what we basically saying. We are developing ourselves on a constant journey of being better people, so we can free all oppressed people, if that makes sense to you.
Finding people that are already doing the work, and usually when someone's already doing the work, you don't have to bend or pull them to get them involved. So you just let them know what's going on, and they push forward. And then of course they know people that are doing the work, and they know people, and so on and so forth. So instead of us trying to find new people first, we need to find our nucleus of people that's already doing the work, that's already active, already ready to respond and connecting us all. Like every time when I put out zaps, I already know everybody I need to tag is most likely going to share that zap. And then they're going to share it on their system, and those people are going to share it. So it kind of grows like that. Of course, we need to find people that want to get involved with people that might not know anything about it, that will get involved, but I think that we need to really focus on those that are involved already, make sure that we know them so that when we gotta push the button, we can push it and it's already ready to go.
This entire area, and I think that that's going to, definitely help us out in the long run. So even just like, if we were to knock on doors in the community, or have brochures and post them up in businesses, or there's a lot of black-owned restaurants and things here in the area. We could go in there, and many of them have community boards where you can station something up on a board or whatever, and put it up there. I mean, there are a lot of people, myself included, who didn't know a lot of these things until someone reached out to me and was like, hey, let me talk to you about why your life looks the way that it does, right? And being able to have someone who understood these things on a level that I didn't understand at the time really helped me to get to where they're at, and now I'm trying to put that back onto the community.
For more more information, please visit www.shakashakur.org. That's www.shakashakur.org. And check us out.